Welcome to the video presentation on second unit of Principles of Management and Economics. In this session, we will learn the organization part. In last session, we studied an introductory part to the Principles of Management and Economics. So in this chapter, we will study the types of the organization and organization structures such as line, staff, functional organization, committee type organizations. They are in flow of responsibility in each type of organizations, authorities involved in the organizations, types of the business organizations such as sole proprietorship, partnership firms, private limited firms, public limited firms, cooperative societies, public sectors, joint sectors, and how they formed. We will study in briefly. So, at first, we need to understand what is the organization and why it is necessary to form an organization. So, organization is a foundation of an enterprise on which entire structure of the management were built. So, it is basically a group of the peoples having a legal entity. So, organization means the mechanism or the structure that enables the living things, the beings, to work together. So, organization is also a is a function of the management. It involves division of the work among the peoples whose efforts must be coordinated to achieve specific objectives. Here, the objectives we set for the organization and to implement the predetermined strategies. So, it forms the definition of the organization. So, identifying and grouping the work to be performed is involved in the organization. So, what tasks to be accomplished, what work to be allotted to the groups of the peoples is identified and decided and is assigned to them. So, defining and delegating the responsibility and authority. So, responsibility of each and every individual, each and every employee in the enterprise is decided, is well defined, and the authority is allocated to them. Establishing relationships for enabling people to work effectively for interdependent tasks. So organization does that. It establishes the relationships between the peoples and it enable them to work effectively for the task allotted to them. The nature and purpose of the organization is it should have clear idea of major duties, the major duties of each individual involved in the enterprise. They should be properly documented. Area of discretion of authority. So we have to set the boundaries how much authority we should assign to every individual. We have to document them. So organization structure involves who is to do what duty. So we have to decide what person will do what duty. Next, so who is responsible for what? So we have to assign that some tasks or some work should be completed by a specific person for a specific time or something extra. So we have to decide the responsibility for that work to some person. To avoid the obstacles in the performance, it should require that we have to assign the responsibility. So it facilitate the decision making and communication networks. So by deciding this, by assigning the authorities, responsibilities, we can allow the employees to make the decisions within their boundaries, and thereby the communication between the peoples develop. So organizations, what involves, we will study the general process of the organization, how to build an organization. So at first we have to decide the objectives of the organization, for what purpose the organization were built, and by engaging the peoples, the employees, what we are trying to achieve. That should be decided at first. Next, deciding various activities, how many activities it should included involves in the department, and how the activities will get done by the group of peoples, we have to decide it. Next, we have to group the activities. We have to make the activities like purchase department having a activity of purchasing a stock, or purchasing a finished goods, or purchasing a semi-finished goods, or purchasing raw materials from the suppliers or other organization. This is the activity of the purchase department, and document each and every task, or each and every activity they did. So assigning responsibilities to employees, like we discussed the example of the purchase department. So we have to assign the responsibility about the purchasing. Whatever the activities involved in the purchasing will be done by the purchasing department, or the group of people assigned in purchasing department will do the activities related to the purchasing. So delegation of the authority, we have to delegate that the person will do that task in the purchasing department, like creation of the documents. We have to uh, we, we assign the duty to a certain employee, that that employee will do the documentation. The physical facilities and proper environment should be provided. For example, we studied as a purchase department, the papers, the computers, the printers, and other things, or the softwares, etc., should be provided, and the proper environment facility should be given to the department in order to work effectively. So organization chart we have to develop. So why it is necessary to develop the organization chart, that it shows the interrelationship of each department. It shows the line of command, the authority from the top management up to the bottom of management. It shows also the interrelationship between the managers. Like we have an organization chart of the plant maintenance department specifically. So in the plant maintenance department, we have an works manager. It is a top level authority in this organization chart. Below that, three persons or three departments are in control. First one is the manufacturing superintendent. Second one is the plant engineer. Third one is the production control supervisor. So specifically under the plant engineer, they handle the power supply department, the job control department, the maintenance department, the plant design department, and the housekeeping activities. So power supply having a chief engineer, job control having the dispatcher, maintenance having the mechanic, master mechanic, plant design having the draftsman, the estimator. Housekeeping activity should be done by the supervisor, and the subordinate to the supervisor are the watchman, janitors, and the cafeteria. So specific to the maintenance department, we are having a certain 4 months, a few individuals acting as a role of the foreman, and under each foreman there are specifically skilled laborers or the skilled employees working under the foreman or the supervisor. So for the first case, the foreman assigned for the machine repairman build fixers and other activities. They are having few individuals working under the foreman and doing the three activities. So for the second, we are having the electrician, the helpers, and the motor tenders. So just like we are having a few foremans. The forms of the organization, the at first we have to decide that this is the legal entity on the document, and we have to register to the government that this entity is existed as a physical and on the document also. So for that we have some options. So in what category we have to legalize the organization. So first type of the forming the organization is the sole traders. So this type of the organization, if we have to register to the government, the person will be the single owner. The entity remains to him. The power of that entity, the power of the organization remains to him, and he is the sole trader. So all the trading activities will be done by him solely. No any other individual is involved in that. So this is the most simplest form of the business, and it is very common. So a startups or the new entrepreneurs starts with this type of the organization, this type of the form of the organization. So planning about the organization, the activities of the planning, the organizing, all the things associated with the business, the control of the activities happening in day-to-day operations, the communications to other suppliers, customers, all the things etc. done by the owner himself. No any other individual involved in that. The examples in that category are the small retail shops, news agencies, the consultants, electrician, plumber, builder, etc. as small business firms having a small revenue. So accounts need not be disclosed, and owners makes all decisions about the business policies, business procedures, and day-to-day operations involved in the business. So customer will get satisfied easily that owner of the business himself is interacting with him, and his issues as his concerns and all the things are getting solved by the business owner himself. No any intermediate person is involved in that. So customer will get satisfied easily. So personal service is valued. It is a value adding process. And profits and losses incurred in the business are the responsibility of the owner. They belong to the owner. If they get higher profits or the losses incurred in the business are the owners of himself. So it required less initial investment. There are the limited opportunity for the employees. Obviously a owner required some assistantships, the workers, laborers. So there are lesser opportunities for the employees for the growth as the business is goes to the owner wholly. Examples in these are the retail trades, the service industries, small engineering firms, printing press, woodworking plant, fabrication shop, etc. Second type of the organization is the partnerships. Partnerships where two or more individuals are working. So two or three or more persons come together and form the organization, legalize the organization, and it becomes an entity. So peoples involved are the part owners. They are either 50-50% owners, or depending upon the agreement, they are the part owners of the organization. So it can be set without any formality. So it is advisable to draw up a deed of partnership between all the partners. So the business process will run without cash and having a smooth run, having a long life to the business. So splitting of the profits and debits. So whatever the profits gained by the organization are splitted according to the agreement, and all the losses or the debits are also shared by the owners, part owners, depending upon the agreement did. So they are jointly liable for the contract made irrespective of his knowledge. So whether the partner is active or passive, some partners are investing in the business and remain passive during the operations. So whatever the happenings are in the business, they are jointly liable, whether it is a legal provision or the any losses or anything etc, they are jointly liable. So they share the success and failures. The an earlier sole proprietor, whatever the success and failure is gone to the owner. Here a share is done, that they also share the success, and in case of the failures they are also act like a group. Next type is a cooperatives. So cooperatives are voluntary association of the peoples or the members who operates the enterprise. Say they involved as a voluntary and form an organization. So they called as a members. The every people involved in the cooperatives is called as a member of that cooperative. So it is a registered entity or the society, either they are working for the profit or without the profit, or a non-profit organization. So everyone is the owner irrespective of the investment done, and can vote to elect the members of the society like president or etc or any other. So they can vote irrespective of how much percentage they are invested in the cooperative business. So specifically, one member will have voting right, and management will get elected by the members of the society. So whatever the investment, they have right to vote. So profits are shared. Business is for the mutual benefits, because the basic thing about the cooperatives, they are voluntarily grouped together to form an enterprise. So profits are getting shared and business is for the mutual benefit. So every member is working for mutual interest or the mutual benefit to the other. So they are socially aware and act responsibly. So either it is a profit making organization or non-profit organization, not necessarily that it should be a profit making organization. For example, we are having in milk collection centers, a famous Mumbai Dabawalas, sugar factories are the good examples of the cooperatives. Next form of the organization are the private limited enterprises. The private limited companies having an extension of PVT Ltd, they will put and this extension after their enterprise name, so we can identify them easily. So they are registered under the Company Act of the Indian Penal Code. So they are limited by its liability. So owners are the shareholders of the enterprise. So share cannot be offered to the public unless they make certain agreement, they, that how much shares they are offering to the public, and for each share how much the value involved, and how much part of the business they are sharing through offering the shares. So they maintains the shareholding pattern, the number of members, and the percent shares for the investment. So each share having a face value. Sometimes the face value is starts from the 10 rupees to 50 rupees or 30 rupees, and they are having some book value. That suppose book first time purchaser will buy the share for the 100 rupees having a face value of 10 rupees. So after second buyer will buy that share for 500 rupees having a face value of 10 rupees. So it is for example to understand. Next form of the organization is the public limited companies having an extension of LTD. So they put this extension after their enterprise name. So obviously they are easy to identify just like as the private limited enterprises. So they are registered under the Company Act, the Indian Company Act, and they are larger than the private limited companies. The government is the dominant investor. So basic difference in the private limited enterprises and the public limited enterprises, that the government is the dominant investor in the public limited companies. So generally, after the India gets the freedom from the British Empire, the government policies are such that they form the different organization, and they made that they are public limited. So government invested majorly in each business to have some kind of a boost to the progress of the country, just like banks, the engineering firms, etc. Thank you.